When we first moved here, everybody had this great vision about the property. We were going to all build on it together, and then life sort of started to happen. And Kody was just never really fully on board with the vision.
You might have been watching this show all wrong. While the spotlight's been on the chaos, what most people miss is the quiet strength, the one person silently holding the family together. We've got a lot to unpack today, so let's not waste another second. Let's dive right in. Hey everyone, what's going on? It's Amin here. Welcome back to TLC Soapbox. That sweet moment between Janelle and her granddaughter Joey, who was sweetly nicknamed JoJo, was heart-wrenching. It is even more poignant when you think about Garrison's connection to stars and the heavens. That extra layer of symbolism means so much in terms of emotional resonance. Janelle is still one of the most earthy and straightforward characters throughout the story. Her family tie is evident through everything she does. Even during bad times, she is able to maintain the good eye. Her consistent calmness, independence, level head, and ability to look for the good in things in life's small things reveal a lot about what kind of person she is. Watching her with her grandkids and children really drives that home. One of her highlight moments was when she taught Axel to fish, with that very same focused flair she's known for. You wait, and you wait. It was clear how happy it made her to be a grandma. Her more reserved, intense side and keen sense of duty might be overlooked, but they're wonderful things. Not all people like women like Janelle, but her children clearly do, and their love and adoration of her are clear. There's something endearing about the reunion of the family, older children returning, all interlaced. It's a reference to the solid foundation that the original three moms built. The genuine love and trust in the family, past the romance drama, is still there. Joey, a diminutive form of Josephine, is Maddie's third child, following Axel and Evangeline, and preceding Amelia. Love and mutual concern with which these children are raised is simply wonderful. In these little, big moments, Janelle does not merely show up. She reminds us all why she is the heart of the family, a steadying presence of love, grace, and strength. At the graveside, under the weight of sorrow, Kody stepped forward, but not as a grief-stricken father, more like an actor with a pulpit. What he delivered was not a eulogy. It was a performance. He spoke of a vision. Garrison came to see him, apparently, and addressed him in tones reminiscent of a character from an old spag western. "Where'd you go, boy?" And "It ain't that bad here." Not exactly the way Garrison ever addressed anyone in real life. It sounded more like a dialogue in a western film, with Kody playing himself. Tough lead, most likely rehearsed in front of the mirror that morning. Instead of his son, he flipped the light back to himself. The dream, real or fantasy, graciously excused him. It left a picture of peace, where forgiveness and admiration came from elsewhere. A declaration that Garrison did not harbor ill will, neither should any of them. But the words sounded false. Kody had kept Garrison at arm's length in life. Their bond was frayed, unfinished. So then to theorize closure through an abstract, one-sided fantasy, one in which Garrison is seen only by Kody, speaks in lines from a movie script, and says goodbye to the family? It was insincere, alien from the grief and distant from reality. Those that came and went in his life spoke volumes without speaking a word. Glaring around, blank faces, silent concession that once again, this would be done for Kody. His need to control what was said overshadowed the dream itself. Even the language betrayed it. The cowboy jargon, the sensationalized cadence. It wasn't his voice. It was a part he stumbled into, hoping it would give him gravitas. What it did instead was show how out of touch he was with the weight of the moment. A moment of shared sorrow became a narcissistic monologue. What could have been humility became acting. Whether or not the dream was real wasn't even a consideration. The issue was not how he used it, to remember Garrison, but to restore his own image. Apologizing not because he was sorry, but because it made him a spectacle. Ultimately, it told us almost nothing about Garrison, and everything about Kody. Meanwhile, Robyn is evidently laying the foundation for her exit. There is a pleasant, understated moment later, after the Wild West show. Kody gets a bit flustered when she insists on remaining in the car with the rain. A small thing, but it implies cracks. And then, later, in the next scene, she worries that his mourning will make him bitter again. It's like she's planting seeds, perhaps unconsciously, of a future reason to depart. This with Robyn feels familiar. When everyone else is the issue, and there isn't any self-reflection, that's a red flag. At some point, you must say, what is the common denominator in all of this stuff? That is the key to development. But it is the one thing that people avoid. It is easier to blame than to look at yourself truthfully. Robyn, though, won't make the leap unless she has something else in the works. She's not Janelle or Mary, who established for herself some measure of independence. Robyn's sense of self has always been wrapped up in being a wife and mother, and that's what distinguishes her path. Her children still need her immensely, and now the same arrangement she helped create is the one she needs to keep going. You can also see a palpable difference in her energy. There's a levelness to her. Emotionally there, but not invested. Withdrawn. Maybe just rubbed thin. She might be miserable. She might be sick of keeping up appearances for the camera. Or she might finally be realizing that being the favorite wife was not so much fun as she'd thought it would be. With the other wives out of the picture, she is no longer the soothing alternative. She's just the only survivor, and that's a whole different type of burden. Kody himself feels distant. His patience wears thin, his temper quick to ignite, and now without the balancing energy of the other wives, everything between them feels heightened. Robyn used to stand out because she was contrast, but because now there is no one to compare her to, every gesture, every word, hers and his, is open to much sharper analysis. It's easy not to believe that she might be planting seeds early for a future exit. She's pointing out Kody's volatility, his tantrums, unhappiness on her part. But in actuality, she's not leaving as long as those TLC checks keep clearing. She's tied to the house, to the lifestyle, to the security. And if she does leave, it'll be by design. She'll frame it in emotional distress or unresolved business with bereavement and mental illness. And as the only legal wife, she reaps the largest reward: property, alimony, even possibly a future book deal to set forth her version of things. The truth is, Robyn and Kody built themselves into this toxic little world. She isolated herself and her kids from the rest of the family. She built her island, and Kody torched the bridges behind them. Now that there is no one else out there, the isolation isn't nearly as magical as it used to be when she was Kody's special one. Is she ever going to leave without a net? Unlikely. But what is certain is that she is not happy, and the cracks are starting to show. One of the most telling reasons Kody would not give an inch on taking charge of the funeral, from his so-called grief odyssey, to actually digging the grave, to delivering that notoriously over-the-top dream monologue, was not about sorrow. It was about being noticed. He needed someone to tell him to stop. He needed the drama, the weeping, the conflict. In the perfect world, maybe Janelle or one of the boys would have screamed, "Don't do this, Kody. You don't need to do this alone. We know you loved him. We forgive you." He was acting, positioning himself for that movie moment of redemption. The crying, the hug, the forgiveness, a grand melodramatic rescue of the bereaved father. But it never happened. No sons saved him. No previous wives tried to bail him out. Kody stood alone, with a shovel, a crew of cameras, and an ear-splitting silence. This was the burden he struggled for. And this time, no one was going to swoop in and bear it for him. He seemed to think that by doing it, others would see the depth of his sorrow, perhaps forgive him. But what he got back in return was not compassion, it was apathy, and you could feel it. As if one of his sons had blurted out years ago at dinner, "You can have them. We're done." The emotional burnout suffused every situation. The family was just tired. And then there was the grave digging. If this was about respect and reverence, why take the cameras with? If it was so intimate, why not ask to be left alone? But no, it had to be seen, recorded, written down. If it had been his sons, he would have found it distasteful. But him? There are no rules ever for him. And the dream, a low-budget Western one. Even his voice changed, as if he were reciting lines in a role. An on-time vision in which Garrison clears him completely. No showdown, no backlash. Just poetic resolution in one neat speech. Then, of course, Kody needed to have the final say at the memorial. He couldn't let it be on someone else's heartfelt words, not even on the words of Garrison's Uncle Tim, whose words were affecting people. Kody needed to take the center stage back. Because in his mind, he was Garrison's father, and he needed everybody to know that. But even with that proclamation, he drove distance. He didn't say, "My son." He called me boy, something straight out of a script. It was performative, not paternal. That dream wasn't one of those moments of knowing, it was a script. And this time, no one came onto the stage. The family had broken up. The wives were absent. Even those who had once stood over him to shield him from the fallout had stopped covering for him. What was to be an instant of sacred oneness turned out to be a solo act. Yet another episode in the endless drama of a man incapable of sharing the center stage. This is not a story of sadness. It's a story of ego. And in the end, it was the silence that was louder than his words. Kody needed to be the focus of attention, once again. That was evident when he hijacked the funeral. Instead of allowing his sons, sad over their brother, to participate in something so precious, he commandeered it for himself. He couldn't remain the center if they were there. He needed to be the most devastated, the most broken. But shared grief is shared space, and that was never going to occur to Kody. So after declining his son's invitations, he enlisted two men he had in respect to help him dig, still insisting it was something only he could do. But we glimpsed reality, undefined. And this time, the crowd didn't cheer, except that he didn't really do it by himself. He just didn't want to let someone else's sorrow upstage his. He knew that if his sons had been present, the moment could have become real, raging, unadulterated, even stomach-churning. And that sort of candor does not agree with someone who's sensitive to responsibility. Their bond with Garrison went deeper, and it would have been clear. So instead, he opted for lawn chairs and sunsets, accompanied by two men who observed on the sidelines, not by the family who was so rightfully entitled to be included in the burial. In doing that, Kody made two things resolutely apparent. He didn't feel that his sons were worthy of inclusion in a moment that could have healed them, and he wasn't going to risk being upstaged emotionally. What was supposed to be holy turned into another stage for his ego trip. He wasn't grieving Garrison, he was grieving the loss of control over the story. From the camera-friendly gravesite, to the painstakingly selected attire, to the body language that cried out, "Watch me grieve," every aspect of it was staged. He refused assistance just so he could afterwards claim to have done everything by himself. He posed, he postured, he made a eulogy of mourning, playing himself as the solitary heroic figure with a burden that no one requested he bear. In the meantime, the son who found Garrison, that trauma that he will live with the rest of his life, mourned in quiet. Kody was not present for his children. He did not leap to their side. He offered no comfort. He remained where the cheers were, where the story could still be told about him. Even with catastrophic loss, Kody opted for affirmation over accountability, and at the funeral, once more, it was all about him. He stood front and center, giving a surreal eulogy about cowboys and dreams, as though he were selling a pilot, not paying tribute to his son. It wasn't healing, it was theater. And the part he acted was not of the mournful father. It was one of desperation to be heard as the emotional hub. But what we witnessed wasn't strength. It was insecurity, ego, and a gutting indifference to the people who were truly mourning. That grave? It wasn't for Garrison alone. It was Kody's stage, and he performed as if his import rested on it. So is this the end? After the latest tell-all, fans are wondering, is Sister Wives finally reaching its last chapter? One can only hope. The show has drifted so far from what once made it compelling. What we're left with now is Kody and Robyn awkwardly clinging to a story that's long since run out of truth. Take that pit stop at Kody's dad's ranch. Was it touching? Not even remotely. It was a groan-inducing attempt at nostalgia, filtered through revisionist history. And if the show does stagger into another season, it'll be more of the same. Kody spinning stories, Robyn dropping scripted tears, and the two of them house hunting like they're on a luxury HGTV episode. But while they're practicing lines, the real story is going on elsewhere. Audiences are much more interested in Janelle, Christine, and even Mary, women who have broken free, begun healing, and are finding themselves again, slowly. We want to watch that process. We want to listen to the adult children who've survived this crazy family situation. We want reality, not trauma wrapped in drama. The only version of this show worth rescuing would focus on those original wives and their families. No more pseudo-cowboy speeches, no more "we're the victims" narrative. Just ordinary people, now at last free from the performance. Because let's be real, if the show is going to last, Kody and Robyn are not why. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you envision a future for Sister Wives, or has it finally expired? Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's about to come next. This is TLC Soapbox, and as always, thank you for watching, stay grounded, and much love to all of you.